Hi everyone, my name is Shrikant. Today we are going to learn OWD profiles in Salesforce. We'll go through some real-time scenarios to have a better understanding. This is a two-part video in Salesforce security model topic, and in the second part we'll be learning about row level hierarchy, sharing rules and manual sharing. By end of this video, you will be able to understand different ways to provide security in Salesforce. You will also understand how to set up OWD and profile for any given scenario. Okay, first things first. So Salesforce is all about providing security to the data. So data in the sense records. Salesforce differentiates records in two different ways. One is owned records and second one is shared records. Owned records in the sense records created by us. Let's say I create a record, that means I own that record. And the second records are shared records. A record can be shared by someone. Let's say I create a record and I can share that record to my colleague so that he can work on it. I can give him either read access or edit access. Having this understanding in mind, we'll go further. So we have multiple ways to provide security. OWD, row level hierarchy, sharing rules and manual sharing. What about profile? Yes, we'll come to that. So why do we have all these security settings for? So these security settings will provide read-write access to the records which we don't want. So any record that is created by us by default will be having read access or write access. But for the records which we don't want, those records will be shared by this OWD, row level hierarchy, sharing rules, manual shares. So all these settings will provide read-write access to the records. Wait, what? All of them are providing the same read-write access. Then what is the difference? Why do we have 4 here? Okay, the answer is they will provide read-write access to the records to someone. That someone is the difference here. OWD will share records with read-write access to all the people by default. Now, whenever there is a requirement where we need to share the records based on manager and subordinate roles, with read-write access, then we need to choose row level hierarchy. Whenever there is a need to share records with particular groups, roles and subordinates based on a particular condition, then we need to go for sharing rules. Whenever there is a need of sharing a record to a user or to a queue, that too manually with read and write access, then we will choose manual sharing. Then what about profile again? You kids are so cute, without my access, your access doesn't work. What does exactly mean? Basically, profiles give access to the objects. Let's say on account we do not have edit access, but OWD says I will be giving read and write access to the set of accounts. But if you log in with that profile and you will not be able to edit it even though OWD says read write. So this is where whenever user wants that account to be edited by this user, then even in profile he needs to give edit access on that account. No worries, I will be explaining with these scenarios so that you will understand it clearly. At this point of time, you need to understand all of them has to work in conjunction with profile. Okay, as we have 4 of these security settings, they will be defined in this particular order. Salesforce will first check the OWD and then role hierarchy, sharing rules and manual sharing. As per the Salesforce security design, we need to provide lower level access to OWD and then we need to increase the access as we go on to row level hierarchy, sharing rules and manual sharing. Okay, we'll try to understand what is OWD. OWD stands for Org-wide defaults. Org-wide defaults are basically the most restrictive user access which is default for all users. We have 4 different access levels: private, public read-only, public read-write, public read-write transfer. Public read-write transfer applicable for only leads and cases, which means all the users will have access to transfer their cases or leads to someone. As simple as that. Before trying to understand the OWD access levels, we need to understand that OWD and profiles are mandatory security settings. Whether it is fitting to our scenario or not, we need to set the OWD values and at the same time we need to have the profile as well. OWDs and profiles will work together. In the sense, just by seeing either OWD or profile, we cannot justify what user is saying. It should be the combo of both. Okay, we'll talk about the access levels. So the first one is public read-write. Whenever OWD is set to public read-write, all the users will have access to all the records which are owned by others. Example, I logged in and I will be able to see and edit all the records owned by others. But here is an assumption. Profile should also give me an edit access on the object. Only then I will be having access. If OWD is set to public read only, we will be able to read records owned by others but not edit it. Here is also an assumption that profile will give read access on that object or else it will not work. Whenever OWD is set to private, we will not have any access on the records which are owned by others. Now we have understood the different access levels, how to select one of them as OWD. First thing, we need to find out the user who needs least access. And we need to assign that access level which matches his access level. So step 1. Out of these two users, we need to find out the user who needs least access on the records. So first one says should not see records owned by others. Second one says should read or edit others' records in lead object. So second person wants all the access and first person doesn't want any access on the records which are owned by others. In the sense, we found our user. He says that he should not see any records owned by others. Step 2 says assign access level which matches with his access level. So he says he should not be seeing any records owned by others. So from our OWD access levels, private, public read only and public read write, private is something which is matching with his access level. So in this scenario, we need to set private as our OWD. As simple as that. Okay, quiz time. What should be the OWD access level here? If you see, user 1 needs read-only access on the records owned by others. User 2 says she needs read and edit access on the records owned by others. So we'll see the answer. Answer is we need to set public read-only as OWD. Why? As per our first step, we need to find the user who needs least access. In this scenario, the first user needs least access. And step 2 says we need to match his access level with our OWD access level. As he wants to read all the records owned by others, it is matching with our public read only. That is the reason we set our OWD as public read only. Simple. Okay, another quiz question. What should be the OWD access level in this scenario? First user says he should read records owned by others, but there shouldn't be any write access. Second set of users, these are all set of users who needs read and write access on all the records owned by others. The answer is public read only again. Why? First step says we need to find out the user who needs lesser access. In this scenario, the first user needs only read only access. That's the reason we selected our first user. And step 2 says we need to find his access with our OWD access level. He says read only on the records that he doesn't own, and our OWD has public read only option to match his access level. So that is the reason we have selected public read only. Now I will walk through the Salesforce org to see how this OWD works. Let's go. Okay, to see how to set up OWD and how it will impact a user, we'll test with one user. So this is my sysadmin access where I will be setting up the OWD. Now I have another user called sales rep, so by which we'll be seeing how a leads object will be affected when we set OWD for lead. To make a clear difference, I have my test user in Lightning Experience and I have my sysadmin in Classic, so that we'll have clear picture who is doing what. So we'll set up our OWD from sysadmin access. So to do that, we need to go for sharing settings. This is where we'll have org-wide defaults. So if you see, organization-wide defaults is right here. So we need to set up that lead object access here itself. To do that, we'll click on edit. As you already know, there are four types, which are private, public read only, read write, and transfer. Transfer is something which is available only for leads and cases. Now we'll start with private. So if we click on private and click on save, it will take little time to save this because it will take little while to complete this operation. Till then it will remain the previous value. I will refresh now and we'll see whether it is impacted. Yeah, it is impacted. See, lead has been changed to private. So what is the expectation? Whenever we set lead is equal to private, records owned by others will not be shared to us. We'll see whether it is working properly or not. We'll go back to my test user. This is the previous view. I haven't refreshed it yet. We'll refresh and see what is the expected result. So as all the leads are with my name, which is the sysadmin name, and the actual user, the test user is sales rep, this user should not see all the records as soon as I refresh this page. So I click on refresh and I should not be seeing not even one. because all of them are being assigned to Shrikant. See, I don't see any leads. Why I'm unable to see the leads records is all of them belongs to Shrikant and I logged in with sales rep. That is the reason why sales rep cannot see the records owned by Shrikant. Now as a sales rep, I wanted to see records owned by Shrikant as well. So how we'll do it? So if we want to just see it, we'll go back to OWD and we'll change that to public read only. Then obviously I should be able to see the records which are owned by others. Now change the private to public read only, click on save and OK. And it will take little while. I will refresh this page again and I should be seeing the result. Yes, I see public read only. Now if I go back to my user, the expected result is I should be able to see all 22 again with read only access. If I try to edit, it should give me an exception. Yeah. Now I see all 22 here. All of them belongs to Shrikant. See, top to bottom we have 22 records. All of them belongs to Shrikant and I am sales rep. I'm able to see his records. Let's see whether we can edit the records. So I click on a lead and I will click on edit button on the top. Where are you? Edit button on the top. Click on details. Okay, I will directly edit from here, name, and I will append something called edited and click on save. It should not allow me to read. See, insufficient access rights on the object ID because we do not have edit access on that. So we'll click on back, cancel. Now I want to have edit access on all the records. So how we'll do it? We'll go back to lead again. So we'll see all the records. Now I want edit access. So this is recently viewed. Let me go back to all view. Now we have 22 records, but all of them are in read-only mode. Now I want to have edit access. So the answer should be, I need to change that to public read write. As simple as that. Click on save and OK. And it will get saved. And it's also changed the status. Be very cautious. Check the status as soon as you change it. Don't immediately test it. Check here whether your change is reflected or not. Only then go there and then refresh this page and click on the record to see whether you have edit access. Click on Andy Young and click on details and double click on the name and I will make it to edited. So I change the name, click on save. It should allow me to save the record. See, as simple as that. So private is something which will not allow you to see records owned by others. Public read only will allow Salesforce to share others records to you, but in read only mode, public read write is something which will definitely make you to edit any record across the system. It will share every record with everyone. This is how you need to set up OWD. And if you see, while we are setting public read write, we are not giving any user here. So it's like whenever you give this access, it is applied to every user by default. And whenever you do it, try to find a user who is having least access and then apply his access level to this object. That's how you need to do it. Org-wide defaults, always remember the most restrictive access, which is default to across the system, or we also can call it as organization. And we also have something called grant access using hierarchy. At this moment, you only need to know that there is something called grant access using hierarchies on org-wide defaults. So when we get into row level hierarchies, I will explain it to you very much better. Okay, now we'll talk about profiles. Profiles are basically the set of permissions on objects, applications, fields, record types, etc. And that permissions will be given to set of users. OWD will give the permissions to all the users, but profiles is something which will give the access to set of users. Speaking profiles in security model context, we have 6 different level of access levels that it can provide it to user for a given object. So it has create, read, edit or write, both are same, and delete. Along with that, we also have view all and modify all. This profile deals with CRED operation. CRED, which means C for create, R for read, E for edit, and D for delete. In profile, we have 6 different access, which is read, create, edit, delete, which are basically CRED. And we also have view all and modify all. I categorized view all and modify all as ultimate access. In this scenario, whenever we select read, create, edit, delete options on lead object, the result will be, apart from creating the record, user will be having access to read, edit, delete his own records, plus he will also have the same access on the records which are shared by OWD roles, sharing rules, etc. That is something which we will see with this scenario. Don't worry. Now, so ultimate access is basically overrides all the sharing rules. If I click on view all, then I will be able to see all the records in the system no matter what. OWD private usually says that I cannot see the records which are owned by others. But if I click on view all here, it will override OWD and then let me see all the records. Whenever I select modify all, it will override all the sharing rules and will let me read, edit and delete all the records in the system, mine and others. We'll talk about a scenario here. So what should be the profile access level in this below scenario? So we have two different set of users. First user says he should only see his records. That means he don't want to see records which are owned by others. Second set of users says all of them they should be able to read records which are there in the system which are owned by everyone. Now we need to first find out what is OWD here. So before giving profile access level, we'll try to understand what is OWD here. So we need to apply our two-step process. Step 1 says we need to find the user who needs least access. Out of this user says first one needs the least access because he says he needs to see only his records. Step 2 says we need to find the matching access level with his access level. So OWD needs to be set to private. As soon as OWD is set to private, user 1 will not have access to the records that are owned by others. In the same way, the other 3 users in the second set will not also have the access to other records. Now profile will come into picture. So for first user we'll create one profile by giving access to lead object with read and create, so that he will create the record and can read the records. Now for the second set of 3 users, we'll create another profile with read create option. Along with that, we also will give view all, by which he will have access to all the records in read only mode. Profile access is so important to define access on our own records and shared record. To confirm our access on our own records, profile itself is enough to decide. Example, if you see here we have read, create, edit, delete options selected. So as soon as you see all these things, you can directly say that you can create it, you can delete, edit and delete your own records. If you take out edit option over there, you can understand that you will not have access to edit your own records itself. If you remove delete access, you will understand that you will not have a delete action on your records itself. If you take out read, then you will not have the access to object itself. You cannot see any record in the object. So we understood profile itself is enough to define access on our own records. What about shared records? Which means the records which are owned by others. To confirm access on other records, also called as shared records, profiles and sharing settings are required. Let's say OWD shares records to us, or roles shares records, sharing rules shares records. As I have mentioned earlier, all the 4 security settings will share records to us. As we have only gone through OWD and profile, now we'll see how OWD and profile combinedly will say what kind of access I will have on the shared records or others records. So if OWD is public read only, which means I can see records which are owned by others and the object says read, create, edit, delete. In that case, I can only read others records. Why? Because OWD is set to public read only and in lead we have read option as well. If whenever you want read option on the others records, OWD has to say read and profile should also say read. And if we want to write shared records, then OWD has to be public read, right? And even profile should say edit access on that particular object. Only then it will work. As I have mentioned here, read or write should be in both profile and OWD role or rule. Role and rule is something which we'll look into in the next video. Okay, we'll have another scenario here. In this case, OWD is public read write and lead is read create. Edit is, if you see edit is not checked here and delete is checked. In this case, we can only read records. Why? Because profile doesn't say edit. If we want to edit on shared records, then write should be in both. OWD should say write and profile should also say write. Only then it will work. Okay, we'll start where OWD example has ended. At the end of the OWD example, we made lead OWD to public read write. That is the reason this user, sales rep user, was able to see, edit the records which are owned by others. So we have all 22. So in the OWD example, if this OWD has to work, profile should have given access on that object. Now we'll see what if profile doesn't give access and how OWD will get affected when profile doesn't give access. So we'll go back to our sysadmin page. So this is our sysadmin view, and I will click on profiles. I have created profile for sales rep with custom admin profile. So I shall go down and then click on custom admin. This is the profile that I have assigned to sales rep. Now I click on edit. This is the normal standard view. I scroll down and then I will go for this is the objects where we need to give access. Profiles will give multiple access also. It will give access to applications, it will give access to tabs, it will give access to record types, it will give access to many things, but in the scope of the current security model, we are only interested with this object permission. So I will check with lead. So if you see this lead object, I have given read, create, edit, delete, and no view all, no modify all. View all and modify all completely the ultimate access. If you give view all and modify all, no matter what OWD permission gives, no matter what role gives, no matter what sharing rule gives, no matter what Apex sharing or manual sharing gives, it doesn't matter. View all will turn every record which was created by someone to be visible to us. View all will make any record in the system to be visible to us, no matter what OWD or any sharing setting will do. Modify all is something which is more advanced, which will not only let us see but also let us edit and delete that record. Clear? So be very careful whenever you give view all and modify all. Now we'll check how this read, create, edit, delete will do. If I uncheck read, all of them will go down and will have no access on lead. We'll see what happens whenever user is not having access on lead. And I will click on this and I refresh this page, and I should not be seeing the lead object in the first place. See, you don't have access to this record. In the first place, I don't see that lead tab. So this is what happens when we don't have access on that object. So we'll go to edit and we'll just try to give only read. So we'll scroll down, and we'll make it lead, and we'll also click on create and click on save. Now there is no edit access given on profile. Now I will go here and click on refresh. Now as soon as I click on refresh, now I will be able to see all the lead records, all 22. Why? Because OWD says public read, right? But profile says read and create. So I will try to first we'll see whether create is working properly or not. So I will click on lead and I will change the salutation to Mr. maybe C and click on save. Now I am able to create a lead record just because we have read access. Now total should be 23 records. I will go back to now. As if you see, I have given only read and create option, but I haven't given edit access. So as soon as I don't give edit access, I shouldn't be able to edit the record. I do not have the double click option. See, I do not have edit access. Now I will go and click on leads which are created by Srikanth and which is created by me as well. If I scroll down, I will be seeing my record, sales rep record. So this is the record which I have created and all of the other 22. So even though it is public read, right? If you see, I opened this OWD parallelly. So OWD set order to public read, right? And profile says only read and create. There is no edit access. So on the others records, you cannot edit the record if profile doesn't approve. Edit should be there in both profile and in OWD. So lead in here it has given read and write, but here we have only read, which means we can only read. It should be there in both. Profile should give read write, and even OWD should be giving read write. Only then we can edit the records which are owned by others. Now I will click here and I will go to any other record. So I will go to details and click on edit, and it shouldn't have that edit. See, there is no edit button in the first place. This edit icon will be displayed whenever profile has that edit checked. Now we'll see what happens if I give edit access. Edit. So we have OWD to public read, right? And we are giving edit access. So as we are giving edit access, which means profile is saying that you can edit the record and OWD is saying that edit the record, which means we have full access on the records which are shared to us. So we can edit our own records, we can edit others' records as well. So I click on lead and then I click on my record. Let's see whether I can edit my record in the first place. So I scroll down and I click on company and I will change to edited. See, I can change my record and click on save. Now I will go to any other record which is not owned by me. To edit a record which is not owned by me, profile should give edit access and at the same time the shared setting, either it is OWD or row level hierarchy, whoever it is sharing should also give us the edit access. So here if you see, it says here, I will just edit it and make it edited. So this is the record. Andy edited Young is the record which is owned by Srikanth, say created by Srikanth. And I click on save and I should be able to edit it. See, now public read write allowed us to edit the record, and profile edit access also allowed us to edit the records which are not owned by us. This is really important. Whenever you are trying to edit a record which is not owned by us, profile should also give us edit access, and the sharing setting which is trying to share the records should also give us the write access. Now we'll change it to public read only and we'll see how it affects. So I will change to public read only. I will click on save and click OK. Yeah, now it got affected. Public read only is the lead, which means we will be able to see the records which are owned by others but cannot edit it. And profile says I can edit it, right? So as I said, to edit records which are owned by others, we should have edit in both. So here we have edit, but the OWD setting says only read, which means we can only read. We should be able to do the operation which is common in the both on the shared records. This is applicable only for the shared records. For our records, it is always based on the profile. No other setting is required. So I will go back to this page and click on refresh. And if I open my record, I should be able to edit it. If I open someone's records, I should not be able to edit it. So I will test this. I will open my record first and we'll see whether I can edit it. Details. And if you see, there is an edit option here and I change to edited. So this is my record, which is sales rep's own record. Sales rep created it, so he should be able to edit it because profile has given edit access. So it doesn't require OWD approval because it's his record. Own records is completely applicable on profile. Now I will open Andy edited Young, which is not my record, which is just shared record. So as this is part of shared record, if I need to edit it, even the shared settings should give edit access. But our OWD has given only read-only access. We should not be able to edit it. So I will click here. Even though it gives this icon, it will not allow us to edit it. Update it again and click on save. Should not allow us to save the record. See, insufficient access. So the conclusion is, whenever we are trying to edit a record which is being shared to us, should be having access both in profile and the shared settings. In this scenario, it is OWD. So OWD should give us edit and profile should also give us it. It should be common in both. If it is our own record, profile access itself is enough. So if profile says edit, we can edit our record. If it doesn't say edit, we cannot edit the record. As simple as that. It should be common in both if it is a shared record. Now we will discuss about view wall. So I go to the edit and profile and change the view wall and modify all. So I will go here, scroll down and make this to view wall and I will click on save. A view wall will gives complete visibility on all the records that we don't own. So we'll change the sharing settings to private, which will not let any of our records to see it in the first place. So we'll see how view wall works. So view wall will override any sharing setting. View wall and modify will always override sharing setting. So sharing setting here gives us the lead object into private. So view wall, our view wall which we have given in profile will override this. So sharing setting says we cannot see others record, but profile says view wall, which means I am overriding what OWD is telling. So show me all the records. So if I go here and refresh this page, I should be able to see all the records. Click on all, I should be able to see all. But in the same case, we cannot edit it because view wall has just given us the permission to view it but not edit it. So I click on details and then click on edit it, but I cannot edit it. View wall will just give us the view wall. Now I will go and change the profile lead object to modify all, so that I will show you what kind of things that we can do with modify all, and click on save. So as soon as you make it modify all, you are giving this particular user who is part of this profile a complete access on all the records. So I will click on save again. You will see whether I can do it or not. See, now it is allowing me to do it. Now we can also delete the record which is not. See, this record is owned by Srikanth. I'm sales rep user. I am able to delete as well. So I will delete. So you are trying to delete a record which is owned by someone. So this is a very, very dangerous permission which you should be giving only to the users who really need this permission. So if you see, the 23 records changed to 22. So the conclusion is view all is a permission which will give you the complete access across the system but in a read-only mode. Modify all is something the more advanced version which will override every sharing setting in the system, which will allow you to see, delete, edit the records which are owned by anyone in the system. Very simple. Okay, we'll go through some scenarios where we'll see whenever we select some different values with OWD and a particular value with profile, and we'll see what the result will be. In the first scenario, OWD is set to private and profile is set to all the CRED options, create, read, edit and delete. Then the result will be user will be able to see all his records and he will be able to edit his records. Why? As soon as OWD is set to private, he will not be able to see any of the records owned by others. And as profile is set to CRED, user will be having access to all his records to create it, read it, edit it and delete it. As simple as that. Now we'll go through the second scenario where the OWD is set to private and profile is set to CR. CR is create and read. And in these scenarios, we are not mentioning about create and delete in the results. Why? Because they're quite self-explanatory. So as OWD is set to private here, obviously user will not have access to the records not owned by him. And as profile says create and read, just read and there is no edit. As a result, he will be seeing only his records with read option. Very simple. Now this third scenario says private, OWD is equal to private and profile is equal to empty, which means there is no access on that object. As soon as there is no access on that profile object, no matter what, user will not be able to see any data. He will not have any access at all. Now this is a different scenario which is little tricky, but it is not complex. Now whenever user selects public read-only option as a OWD, the current logged in user will be having access to all the records owned by others, but it should be in read-only mode. And profile says CRED. As profile says CRED, he will be having access to his records to read and delete. As OWD is just read only and profile is having read and edit, we have my records is equal to read edit and other records to read. It seems little complex, but try to understand. By understanding this kind of scenario, you will be able to understand the concept little better. Now the next scenario. So public read only is the OWD and profile says CR. As it says public read only, will have access to the records owned by others. So that's the reason in the result we have in my records read only access and in the other records we have read access. Why did not we have the edit access? Because in the profile there is no edit option. Very simple. Okay, coming to next scenario, whenever we give OWD is equal to public read only and profile is equal to empty, obviously the result is no access. So same applicable for the next scenario where OWD is set to public read write, which means he will not be having access on any record, whether it's his own or any other record. And the next scenario says OWD is set to public read write and profile is set to CRED, where it is giving access to every record in OWD, which means it is trying to share all the records which are owned by others to us. And in profile we have given all CRED, which means we'll have access to all our records with read and edit action as well. So in the result it will be my records read and edit, other records read and edit. Simple. And coming to the next scenario, OWD says public read write and profile says just read. That is the reason the result says for my records we can only read, and OWD, even though OWD has given public read write, profile has to approve there should be an edit. Until profile also gives edit access, users cannot edit the records which are owned by other record. This is what I was telling. Profile should also give permission which OWD has given, else it will not work. Coming to the next scenario, OWD says public read only and profile says just read, which means in my records it is read and in the other records also it is just read. If you see this and the previous result is same even though OWD changes. Why? Because profile should also grant write permission in the previous scenario. That is the reason in the previous scenario even though OWD is right, it didn't work, and in the current scenario it has read and profile has read. That is the reason we were able to read it. Simple. If you see the last two scenarios, the current scenario selected and the previous scenario, both of them are having the same profile and same result, except the OWD is different. Why the result is same? Why? Because as I have mentioned earlier, OWD is providing edit. Profile should also provide edit, only then other records will be seeing as read and edit, else it will not give the access to edit. OWD here in the current scenario is read only, and here it's also current in this profile also read only. That's the reason in result we'll be having read. Remember one thing, if OWD gives edit, profile should also give edit, only then we can have edit access on the records which we don't want. Okay, with the next scenario, we'll try to add modifier also. So in OWD, if it is set to public read only and profile is set to modify all, then the result will be you can read and edit your records and other records. So as soon as you see modify all, you don't need to think about OWD. Why? Because modify all will override all the sharing rules to make all the records to be in read and edit mode. That is the reason for the next two scenarios also, even though OWD changes, the result doesn't change. Whenever you set profile to modify all, then OWD doesn't matter because modify all overrides everything to make all the records to be in read and edit mode. And that's the wrap up with this session. So I will be adding another video on row level hierarchy, sharing rules and manual sharing in the next video. I will be uploading that in next 24 hours. And thank you so much. If you like this video, give a thumbs up. If you have any questions, comment down below. Practice, practice, practice. Happy learning and bye.